terms of Manhattan, because at least Manhattan, I know I have a general idea of how far time goes back. I know that we're talking about the 1600s when the Dutch took over the island of Manhattan. So using Manhattan as an example, I'm trying to get an unbroken chain of title going back from the time that seller's deeding the property to you all the way back to the time when the Dutch purchased the property from the Native Americans of Manhattan Island. I'm looking for an unbroken chain. That's what I want. And if it turns out that somewhere along that chain of title something went wrong and somebody didn't have the right to transfer the property from one person or one entity to another, there's going to be a break, what we call a break in title. So what you want to know is when you leave the closing table, you're going to walk away with the title insurance policy. What that title insurance policy is going to do is going to ensure to you, again, a number of things. The one we're talking about now is that you're really vested in title. And if it turns out that you're not actually vested in title, that sometime down the line, and we could talk about how far down the line, it could be the next day, the next week, 6 months, 6 years, 60 years later, turns out that somebody comes out of the woodwork and says you don't really own the property. What you've done with your title insurance policy is you've shifted the risk of that claim, of that person coming out of the woodwork and making a claim that they own the property. You've shifted the risk from yourself to us. That's the whole purpose of title insurance. So what are we going to do? Obviously, we're going to do a title search to determine whether this guy who's signing the deed, whether the seller really truly has the right to sign the deed and to transfer the property to you. We do a title search. It's a pretty all-encompassing search. In some ways, we actually go back hundreds of years, and in other ways, we really only go back a more limited period of time. Usually 40 years, 40 is the industry standard. To determine if he or she really had the right to transfer the property to you. Let's say we do our title search. Turns out that Joe Schmo is your seller. We find that Joe Schmo is really vested in title. Go to the closing. We see a deed that says Joe Schmo hereby transfers to you. You're good to go. We're in good shape. As I said, again, we close and everything is fine. You have a title insurance policy. Everybody's in good shape. Now let's just take a scenario that 6 months later, you get a phone call. You're sitting in your new house. You're still setting stuff up. You're still putting paintings on the wall. You get a phone call and some guy says to you, hey, I don't know who the heck you are, but I'm Joe Schmo's long-lost brother. I haven't seen him in 30 years. I'm living out here in California, and I don't know what the heck Joe told you, but he had no right to sell you that house, and that house is really inherited by me and my brother from my great-uncle Henry, and my brother and I don't talk to each other anymore, but he had no right to sell that property to you. I'm a 50% owner of that property, so I'm just calling to give you a heads up. You ought to start taking the paintings off the wall, you ought to start packing up and getting the heck out of there because I'm coming back to move back in. What are you going to do? Well, obviously the first thing you do is going to freak out a little bit, and you're probably going to pick up the phone and make, I'm going to say 2 phone calls, but probably really 1 phone call. I was going to say you're going to call your attorney, and then you're going to call the title insurance company. The truth is, I'm talking to you, the lawyer, but now I'm talking to you as a buyer. A buyer really, in most cases, does not have a direct relationship with their title company. It's much more of a relationship between the attorney who represented the buyer on the transaction and the title insurance company. In most cases, that attorney picked the title insurance company and not you, the buyer. So what's probably going to happen is you can probably make 1 phone call. You're going to probably call your attorney and say, hey, what the heck is going on here? I bought this place. We closed 6 months ago, whatever it is that we closed 6 years ago. And now I get some guy saying that he owns the property. You can't do this to me. My wife's going to kill me. What's going on here? What the attorney's going to do is the attorney's going to contact the title company and put in a title insurance